Is it me writing this? I don't know. It might already be under his violence. I might already be under his violence, the writer's violence. Maybe he wants to write my story. Is he capable of writing my story? I don't know how long I've been here, a month, 2 months, 3 weeks. Time is wrapped around itself, and I don't get the order of the changes between night and day and the dazzling light shine of the tram at dawn. In any case, I have now got my papers in order officially. I'm a refugee, not just one newly arrived or whatever they are calling us from Syria. The message came this week. What a relief. A heavy stone fell from my heart. It was not possible to stay in Istanbul anymore. My passport had expired. When I was to renew it, they said I had to return to Damascus to do the military service. It was a woman, red short-cut hair, green earring that matched the eyeshadow. Right, I was nearly throwing myself down on the floor. Should I become a part of the army and then kill my compatriots, my own family? It was laughable, but regardless of how absurd it sounded in my ears, I managed to keep my calm. That was the way I came here through Istanbul and Cairo. Maybe it's been 4 months since I arrived in Sweden. Depends on how you count. I came here in April, so yes, 4 months here in this city whose name I not yet learned to pronounce. Before that, I ended up in a place in another city, alone with 15 men, all very manly. It's strange when you think about it, but it was the first time I shared my household with so many foreign men. To be honest, in some moments, it was an exciting insight. In retrospect, I don't know how I could feel that way, but it was like that. It's nothing I need to deny. In fact, there is another 9 months, so more than a year, if you could count the first period. But the first period was no real time. It was more like a void, an ice-cold vacuum that I was sucked into and which slowly but surely stifled me. Hearing Xavier's voice saved me many times from madness. I had nothing in common with other men. They devoted themselves to playing board games and cards all day long, just to make time pass. Of course, that kind of pastime I cannot blame them for. But some were purely criminal. 2 of the men had just been released from a notorious prison north of Damascus. Hassan and Hassan, I will never forget their names. I kept myself away. I closed the door of my room, closed myself in a shell where I was haunted by irrepressible thoughts about what happened on the rooftops of Damascus, Aleppo, Raqqa, both at night and during the day. Who hasn't seen how they cast us alive down the pebbles? It was rumored that those who survived the fall were attacked by bloodthirsty bullies who killed them with spits, spades, and other tools. Though the whole of that period feels in some way distant now, I find myself in an office to meet a man I recently got to know. It was 2-3 weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know why I feel nervous, as in a job interview. He's from here, born and bred in Sweden, even though he doesn't look like that. I mean, he's not blonde, not blue-eyed, and not very long for that part either. Not very tall for that part either. His features are round, the eyebrows reminds me a little about someone. I don't remember who. It's strange because I know it's someone I know very well. This is how we Swedes look nowadays. He laughs, black and muscular and secretive, I suggest, when he can't find the words. In the room, high towers of books are stacked on top of each other without obvious order. An ashtray is crowded with butts and dark tobacco. He's a writer, I understand. I didn't know before when we met. He just said he was working with communication. That's why he was there. He had helped a promoter to give the event that took place in a secret place in the harbor medial attention. You might want to write my story, I suggest without thinking. He looks pretty surprised when I say it. I really don't know what went into my mind. I definitely have no idea what the consequences will be. He says nothing. The silence spreads in the room as viscous lava. One might think that it is I who has the power of the story because it's I who tells it. In fact, it's he who has the story in his hands now. He crawls inside me with all his body weight. He seizes my voice. He distorts it. Then tells everything in the light that it is I who write. It is me, that that these are my words. It is not like that. It is not me who writes this. It's not my story. It has slipped me out of my hands. I'm in his violence. I'm in the writer's violence. I will read from, this was the beginning. I will read from a later passage in the end. I do not know if it's me writing this. Tonight I dreamt I was a writer, the writer. I don't think it was a dream. I don't know for how long you can keep on. 1 week, 3 months, 2 years, sooner or later, we will reach the point where nothing remains to be said. When literature no longer harbors any opportunities, when there is no hope left. Either we cease to try to write, and then our language will conform to the ongoing and uninterrupted flow of stultification, which apparently have no boundaries in our time. Or we bang our heads bloody into the fragile outside of language until everything cracks in parts and our dreams are sucked up by the void that remains when the repetitions have reached an endpoint. I don't understand how we could come to this extremity with such a speed. The decay is much more severe than I could ever imagine would have happened during my lifetime. If we are not pushing ourselves towards the ruin, the edge, there's no doubt we are moving towards a situation where any straw can break the camel's back. Many of us are already there. Others cling to the hope that the new world order may come, may be born. There's never been a similar situation in our time, not to say in the history of mankind, where so much madness is spreading, horrified speech, cunning lies, and not least malignant propaganda, not at the speed it does now. The worst is that it is no longer just a matter of spreading on individual sites within the limited territories, but the flow of madness takes place on a worldwide scale, viral, highly intensive, as if humanity was in a hurry to its own destruction. No wonder people no longer have any interest in others, in the eccentrics, in the refugees. I myself have grown tired of listening to the chatter that so often contains a fast-growing seed of hatred and envy. Maybe it was what the writer meant when he talked about the inverted resentment of the liberal hegemony, the bitterness that arises among the privileged when the pendulum shifts with full force to the opposite side. The fact is that barely even the most serious experts are able to identify the problem. Pretty frequent, they themselves are engulfed with a hate propaganda of separatism, ravished by its poison, which is sucked up by the root hair of reactive thinking. People talk. Il parle. Il parle. They talk too much. Not only the neurotics and the narcissists who fall in love with their own voices everywhere the talk is going on. Secrets are pulverized with all the talks. They love to see themselves surrounded, mentioned, award-winning, claimed and shared, or if they fail to do so, at least smeared in a bloody and fleshy batter that will be the concrete result of the horrified and brainwashed dreams of martyrdom. The need for recognition, to be seen, of spirituality inherent in the blood does not sense any boundaries. The stultification is inextricably linked to this dream of an everlasting radiance, of something whose meaning exists in eternity, not here, not now, never ever in the hidden. No, I mean, of course, not that we are basically different, that we belong to the small few who manage to raise ourselves over this sighing to be seen. I've also been there at the bottom and crawled out in search of a small straw that can pull me out of the absolute anonymity of darkness. I understand quite well that our rights require a name, an affiliation, a nation, a thing, something beyond our mere humanity in order to be protected. It's not just about rights or the right to rights, to speak with a philosopher who knew what she was talking about. It's about life and the meaning of our lives, how we can deepen our understanding of the world before it's too late, while it's still possible. It's perhaps a health sign that people no longer put up with the chatter, the talking, the opinion machine. Not even when it makes a caricature of itself, something decisive happens in the general consciousness. That people protest only contributes to lip service of openness. We are still lingering in an awkward time, a time that has lost its foothold, without any vision, with a language that is idling. The problem is not just that the opinion machinery does not know any boundaries. It has become a yardstick for humanity. There is no body without the constant opinion. If a person does not have a constantly advertised opinion, he or she does not exist other than in the statistics. There's probably nothing that contributes to the intellectual depletion as much as the refugee issue and the migration in general. It is not that weird. We, the new arrivals, are assumed not to be able to defend ourselves. We do not speak the languages, and all translations that are shaped in accordance with the same are we do not speak the language, and all translations are shaped in accordance with the same template. Either the refugee is a victim who is unable to contribute anything to society, or she becomes a potential terrorist threat. If she does not blow herself, her offspring will do so after having grown apart from the power of one of the city's isolated enclaves, outlying areas, the eerie zones. Both of these images of the refugee contributes to intensifying the depletion process, not because they have to be wrong in fact. It has, after all, happened that we have blown ourselves in pieces, that we draw into a crowd or cut the knife into innocent people at IKEA. We can maintain that, we can state that. But the question is, what happens when we content ourselves with stating it? What happens when we content ourselves with repeating this template? Language speaks uninterruptedly. I have to close. I have to finish. Okay, I can finish now. We save some time.